Hi, this is Jordan from Recap Animation. All properties are owned by their respective companies. Please enjoy. Previously, we saw Aladdin meets Ali Baba, who explains his ambitions to become rich by clearing dungeons. The two team up to take on Kishan's dungeon. Aladdin and Ali Baba head deep inside the dungeon, and when Aladdin is exhausted and taken by Jamil's group, Ali Baba has no choice but to guide Jamil to the treasure. After escaping Jamil's group, Aladdin and Ali Baba continue to capture the dungeon and succeed. However, a black-haired magi sets up a magical circle to destroy the dungeon. Thanks to the Jinn Amon, they left the dungeon on time. Ali Baba and Aladdin also promised to travel around the world. Unfortunately, as they leave the dungeon, they are separated and sent to different parts of the world. Ali Baba is visited by Morgiana, who thanks him for using the treasure he collected to free all the slaves, including her. Then she asked why he freed them. So in response, Ali Baba said that Aladdin would have done the same. Then Ali Baba asks what her plans are. But Morgiana says she will return to her homeland one day because that was what her benefactor wanted. Ali Baba says that he also needs to make a decision, so he decides to leave the city. Then Ali Baba declares that he will never look away from the path he has to walk. He will also be looking for Aladdin the whole time. And when he finds him, they will go on another adventure together. Meanwhile, Aladdin is shouting at Ugo and asking him what he is. And then suddenly he wakes up. There is an old lady who asks him if he has awakened the child of Rook. Then Aladdin asks her about the Rook, and the old lady points towards shining butterflies. Aladdin is shocked because she can see them too. And then he asks her about the Rook. The old lady says Rook are embodiments of the never-ending flow of light. The Rook is the home of the soul. And then Aladdin tells her that they always save him when he shares the power in his stomach. When the old woman hears this, she is surprised. She was about to say something, but her clanswoman, Tauya, interrupted her. She told the old lady named Baba that the scouting party had returned. The granny went outside, and Aladdin followed her. He was surprised to see the green plains. He then gets to know that he was in a nomadic village far away from the town of Kishan, and when he heard that it takes 2 years to reach there by foot, he gets depressed. But the granny tells him there is no need to worry, as he can ride with the caravans that will arrive in 2 weeks. So Aladdin was welcomed by the Kuga clan's leader, Baba, to stay with them until the caravans arrived. Then one day, Hakui Ren, the first princess of the Ku Empire, appears in the village to ask the clan to join the empire, and also tells them that the Kuga clan was once the most prosperous tribe in the world. The first great king of the Kuga clan supposedly had powers rivaling a demon's and built the largest nation known to man, the Great Kuga Empire. Still, in recent years they declined and have been targeted by slave hunters, but today their suffering will end. Then she asks Baba to come under the empire, but Baba declines the offer. Because she fears that the empire may eventually annex the Kuga by force, Tuya then brings milk for the Princess Hakuya to drink and tell them to speak inside. But one of her aides, Ryosei, pushes Tuya and tells her the princess will not drink their dirty milk and says they all better surrender, otherwise they will die in an all-out war. Afterward, Hakuya, in her army's camp, tells her aide that she does not want war, as they are future citizens of the Ku Empire. At night, Aladdin pays a visit to the princess and tells her that Granny and the others have taught him the meaning of family, and they are important to him, and says not to kill them. Hearing this, Hakuya promises him to solve the matter without causing any deaths. And seeing the Rook surrounded Hakuya, Aladdin believes her. Meanwhile, some women from the clan are kidnapped by slave traders and soldiers, and a group of warriors sets out to rescue them. Baba warned them not to kill anybody in order to not cause a war between them and the empire. As Aladdin and Baba wait for warriors of the Kuga clan to return, she tells him how the Kuga was once the biggest empire in the world after a king chosen by a magi unified his people and formed the first nation in history. Aladdin then tells her that he met with the cow princess yesterday, and she promised him not to kill anyone, so there is no need to worry as there will not be be a war. After the warriors return, bringing the women with them, and having fulfilled the promise not to shed any blood, Baba announces her decision to have the clan join the Ku Empire, and the clan agrees. Later, everyone is sitting by a fire, having somewhat of a party. After a while, Baba excuses herself, telling everyone she's going to pee. She tells herself that her role is to keep her family alive, and she will live on to see her children's children and grandchildren, but an arrow abruptly hits her. Aladdin wonders what's taking Baba so long, and hopes she will return soon. As Aladdin rushes to take Baba to be treated, Hakuya learns that one of the soldiers was killed by an arrow from the Kuga clan, and she leaves the army under the command of her aide, Ryosei, to learn the truth about the attack from the Kuga clan. In the meantime, the angry members of the Kuga clan are preparing for the inevitable war, and Aladdin isn't sure what to do next after Baba's temporary treatment. Suddenly, Aladdin hears Baba's weak voice, asking him to lend his strength to her. On the other hand, Hakuya comes across the Kuga clan members who do not believe her words, even after she had herself wounded after refusing to fight back. Then abruptly, Baba, who was brought there by Aladdin under her request, reaffirms her decision to have the Kugas become a protectorate of the Ku Empire, and gets mad at her clan members for behaving like this. Then, one of the members of the Kuga clan says that as long as they keep her pride strong in their hearts, nothing has changed, and everyone throws their weapons and allows the princess to return. While witnessing this, Aladdin says to Ugo that it's amazing. They all have the courage to choose what steps they must take to guarantee the future. After Baba dies from her wounds, her spirit appears before Aladdin, who confirms that he is indeed a magi, and the one who is loved by Rook and able to borrow its power. One who lives with the souls of countless millions, guides them, and creates their world. That is why he is never alone. Beloved child of Solomon, as she will always be by his side. Aladdin's eyes are dripping in tears. Meanwhile, Hakuya is returning to the camp and telling her assistant, Saisin, that they must protect the peace of this land. When she covered half of the distance to the camp, she saw Ryosei and his troops ready for war. She learns that it was all a plot of his to have her killed and for Ryosei to take command of her troops. Then Ryosei orders an attack, and Hakuya, with her metal vessel with wind power, and her assistant, Saisin, fight against thousands of Ryosei's trusted troops. However, Hakuya is too powerful for Ryosei to handle, so he uses an evil tactic. By using Hakuya's righteous heart, Ryosei orders his man to shoot arrows at their soldiers, forcing her to protect them and wasting her power. And then finally, Hakuya's metal vessel runs out of Magoi, causing them to lose the fight. After Ryosei won the unfair battle, he was going to kill Hakuya, but then suddenly Aladdin arrives on Ugo and uses his power to knock Ryosei and the troops back while destroying the mountain. Then Aladdin notices Hakuya's metal vessel, which starts shouting when he gets near it. So Aladdin asks permission from Hakuya to touch her metal vessel. Then when she agrees, he touches it. Then Paimon, the jinn inside Hakuya's metal vessel, materializes. Aladdin learns from Paimon that Hakuya is her king candidate, appointed by a magi who lives in the Ku Empire. She then says it's the magi's duty to choose a king, and asks if he has not chosen a king yet, like how she found Hakuya in a dungeon and made a contract with her. In the Ku Empire, the priest finds the magi and then discovers him on the roof eating the apple. The priest tells him he must not miss his audience with the emperor. The magi says he can't stand that pig, then goes to the training ground and tells the boy with a mark on his face to become emperor faster and become more powerful, and then tells him to capture the dungeon just like his sister, Hakuya Ren, did. Afterward, the members of the Kuga clan give the staff of Baba to him, and after bidding farewell to the Kuga clan, Aladdin informs the Kuga clansmen about a slave named Gultaz, who happened to be a part of their clan. The Kuga clansmen thank Aladdin for helping Gultaz to the very end. Aladdin joins a caravan looking to reunite with Ali Baba. Some months later, while Sasha and Layla were selling their products with their excellent marketing skills, they almost finished their stock of products. Still, Morgiana arrives to deliver one massive load of products, which makes the two sigh in relief and say that they are glad that she joined their caravan. Later, on their way back, Sasha says to Morgiana that it's already been half a year since they met her in Kishan. Hearing this, Morgiana apologizes for her behavior from back then, as she heard they were headed for Balbad. She jumped in front of their caravan without a second thought. Morgiana thanks Sasha and Layla for helping her, a stranger like her. She then informs them that she is heading to her homeland to honor her savior's wishes. After arriving in the town, the group sees how empty the town is due to the bandits. Layla bumps into a slave trader. Morgiana glances at the group of slaves following the trader, while fear is still visible on her face, and Sasha asks why a practice like slavery is allowed. Later that night, Morgiana wakes up from a nightmare where Jamil is hunting her down and binding her with chains. Layla tries to comfort Morgiana and gives her some medicine. She explains that Sasha saved her life and a mysterious boy helped her save her caravan. Upon hearing Layla, Sasha teases Layla and remarks how she's a kind-hearted person, making Layla blush in embarrassment. The next day, the head of the caravan informs Morgiana that they are taking another route and he cannot take Morgiana back to her homeland since the bandits' fortress is blocking the other path leading to Balbad. That's why they decided to take a different path. Then Morgiana tells him the ships that will take her home leave only from Balbad. Then she asks the head of the caravan if someone were to defeat those thieves, would the path be open again? At the bandits' hideout, their leader chats with the slave trader while Morgiana makes her way to their home base. She jumps down and makes a little announcement. The bandits think she's a minor threat and take her lightly. And then, when one man gets too close to Morgiana, he gets punched in the gut by her. As Morgiana beats up the bandits, another massive man tries to attack her, only to receive Morgiana's powerful kick to the face. Watching Morgiana, a slave trader falls in love with Morgiana's sheer strength and enhanced speed and guesses that she is from the most powerful tribe, Fanalis. He sends a crow that tears into Morgiana's shoulder and she suddenly starts to succumb to the toxin. He explains that he has a desert crow, its clawing holding poison powerful enough to make a bull fall, and then Morgiana collapses. In another nightmare, Jamil whips Morgiana ferociously, making her cry and beg for mercy, and calls her parents for help, and she wakes up near a scared child, Nadja. When Nadja asks Morgiana what will happen to them, Morgiana's explanation makes the little girl whine. Comparing Nadja to her, Morgiana tries to cheer her up and tells her they will break out. Meanwhile, in the town, Layla realizes Morgiana is missing, and she sees the head of the caravan assembling a small group for a rescue mission. In Morgiana's cell, she finds out that Nadja has a fever. She tells the white-haired slave trader, who then decides to feed Nadja to the hyenas by dangling Nadja from a pole because her medicine would cost too much. Morgiana watches in horror as the child is about to be killed. Then she hears Goltaz's voice urging her to fight back, and she jumps high in the air. After she destroys the ankle cuffs by banging them against the metal plate, she unleashes a devastating shriek that scares the hyenas. Seeing this, the slave trader orders release of the tigers that they recently captured. Morgiana jumps into the fray and brutally smashes the tigers one by one, defeating all of them effortlessly. She leaps toward the slave trader and demands the keys. Nadja objects to how Morgiana shows her pity and calls her a slave, but Morgiana tells her she is not a slave anymore. Afterward, Morgiana frees the slaves and Nadja reunites with her parents. In the crowd, Aladdin calls over Morgiana, surprising her, and explains that a huge rock fell on their caravan and he lost consciousness. And when he opened his eyes again, he was there. Then a man shows him and asks, is this his flute? Outside the bandits' hideout, Layla's group heads toward the base, worried about Morgiana, only to see Ugo popping out. After things settle down, Aladdin snuggles his face into Sasha's chest and remarks how one can bump into friends everywhere. Then, the head of the caravan remarks, it's not a coincidence. Travels will reunite old friends from near and far. After a night of celebration, Aladdin and Morgiana head toward Balbad, and Aladdin asks Morgiana if he can call her Morg, which Morgiana lets him. If you have made it to the end, thank you so much for watching this recap with us. If you like this recap and want to see more like it, click the like below to watch part 3 of this series.